All right, folks, tomorrow is election day here in Mississippi. One election is very near and dear to me in this part of the world, and that is the Democratic senatorial race. Now, folks, it's a runoff election tomorrow. I'm going to go through this. Some of you might think that it's boring. Most of us will not. I'll tell you why we don't think it's boring. We don't think it primarily because of the fact that the person we elect in November will be there 4 years. That means that my granddaughter will be a teenager. She'll be nearing 15 years old. That means that my uncle will turn 100. He's 96. He's on Medicare and, of course, gets Medicaid. He's a veteran, retired from the Postal Service. That means that my oldest grandchild will hopefully be graduating from college and maybe going into grad school or trying to find a job. And the person who's sitting in that Senate seat could determine, how many jobs are coming to Mississippi. I have a dear associate who could very well be getting out of the federal prison. She was there on an embezzlement charge. In other words, what I'm saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, some of you think, okay, that elections don't matter and this doesn't matter and so forth, but you've got to ask yourself, where are you going to be in the next 4 years? If you got a child that's 4 right now, you realize he'll be 8 years old in elementary school, and elementary schools depend on federal dollars. If you're pregnant right now, by the time the person who's elected, well, actually I'm saying 4 years, is actually 6 years for a senator. Thank you very much. 6 years, they're there for 6 years. So for the next 6 years, by the time, if you're pregnant right now, the person who you elect is going to determine, in some cases, what schools get funding and what schools do not. Whether or not some schools will have metal detectors to stop other students from shooting up the school. That's how you look at this. It's about, okay, I need to participate because of this. It's not like I need to put oil in my car because I know that if I don't put oil in my car is not going to last that long. Or I need to put gas in my car. Just because you have a car doesn't mean that it's going to run, is the point. Same thing with your elected officials. You've got to make an effort to make sure you get the right one. Put in the right gas, right oil, check it. Or else, trust me on that dependable thing you call a car or a politician will leave you high and dry. So tomorrow is the runoff election between, in this state, between David Barrier and Sherman. And you got to make some decisions. Before this show is over, I'm going to endorse one of those folks for the Democratic nominee. Once it gets down to 2, then I feel more, and I'll do it for Republicans, I'll do it for Democrats, by the way. There is no runoff in the Republican primary. Roger Wicker, the incumbent, and in this district it would be Stephen Plaza. No runoff. You only get a runoff when one of the candidates did not get 50% plus 1. All right, very quickly here, just so you'll know my line of thinking here, folks. We're at a serious point in our history in this country. We're trying to determine whether or not, as they say in gambling or on the dice table or on the roulette table, money wins. Sometimes when I would go and I'd play roulette, and in some casinos, I wouldn't get chips. I just simply put my money on the side, and so if I win, then they would say money won instead of the chips, red or black or whatever. Got me? So we're trying to determine in our country here whether money's going to win. That's what won, in some cases, for Mm, well, President Barack Obama. In other words, the one who raised the most money, the one who gets the greatest dollars behind them will win. You got me? There's some would argue that that's what happened with Hillary Clinton and Donald John. However, I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Hillary Clinton raised about $1 billion or so, as well as Donald John. There's been times in our history when money didn't win, for instance. Yeah, when it came to Willard Mitt Romney, for instance, it didn't win. Money didn't win. Money, Willard Mitt Romney outspent President Barack Obama. Didn't win. So in the race between Sherman and Beria, there are some who feel that, okay, Sherman has a better chance of winning because he's got money. He's got Hollywood behind him and some other dollars. And it's not to say that I don't think that's important. I do. You have to have enough money. You got to be able to raise money to run a race. Theoretically, you do. That doesn't mean it has to come from the big money brokers, the big guys with the money. It doesn't mean you've got to be worth $40 million or sell your house at $40 million. It might mean that you've got enough people, low guys, like in the case of President Barack Obama, people who were donating $20,000, $30,000. By the way, Donald John got a significant number of those individuals who would send in $5, $10, $15, $20. It adds up. If you're supporting one candidate over the other, then you need to, at the very least, show that by making a contribution. I encourage it. Small donors. But still, that candidate has to make money to reach his audience. I mean, just traveling, if he wanted to go door to door, he has to pay for gas. He's got to have an automobile. And maybe if he can't do it himself, he's got to have people who would do it on his behalf in his stead. So you've got to decide. Sherman, in this case, is suggested to be a favorite because he has the money, had the support of at least one of the members of the Legislative Black Caucus and a former candidate to be the Democratic nominee. Ameria Scott endorsed Sherman. Benny Thompson was on this show for the very first time and said, well, he's been on the show more than that, but this was the first time that he actually admitted in broadcast that he supported David Beria. He accused Sherman of only voting in this state once, and that was for himself. Doesn't look good. David Beria doesn't have the money. I can tell you that right now. He doesn't have the money. He doesn't have the pockets that Sherman has. David Beria has a track record, however, of voting a whole lot more, especially being that he was once in the Senate here in this state, and then, of course, the House of Representatives. So you can find out what he does, where he stood for, where he voted for. You can't do that with Sherman. However, you can certainly track Sherman's economic interest and great contributions in this state as it applies to helping young people and providing investments. And even some philanthropy. In other words, he makes some donations. Got good ideas. A businessman. Beria, on the other hand, is a lawyer. Actually, Sherman's a lawyer too, isn't he? I know his wife's an actress. Make sure. I don't want to. So this is what I'm going through in my mind. I'm calculating. There are some who are going to look at this from a standpoint of, well, who do I think can win? Others are going to look at this and go, who is the best statesman? But you should look at it, America, based upon who do I want in the next 6 years, where am I going to be, and where does this person stand on where I'm going to be or where my children are going to be? I could very well retire Social Security in 6 years. I could very well, if I'm a patient now, I could get worse. Need Medicare, Medicaid. Where does this person stand? Because they're going to be in the Senate of the United States. That's where the laws are made. That's where the appropriations are made. Where do they stand? What do they do? Can I trust them? What's their character like? Is there a track record of their commitment? Be it in politics or be it in business? So you got some decisions to make, but more importantly, you need to go to the polls and vote tomorrow. Now, tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, if you did not vote in the primary at all, even if you are a Republican, you can still vote in the Democratic runoff. You got me? You don't have to be anything to vote. Now, but if you did vote in the primary and you voted in the Republican primary, if you voted as a Republican, then you can't vote in the Democratic primary. In other words, just the last vote, about a month ago? The last election, if you voted Republican, then you can't determine which of these two Democrats are going to win. But if you didn't vote at all, then you can, right? Even if you are what you call a Republican. But if you voted Democrat, then of course you certainly should go and determine who wins tomorrow, because that person will then challenge the Republican in November, or the Independents, and/or. If you were a Democrat and you did not vote at all in the last election, then you can vote. Even if you didn't vote to determine whether these two men would end up, you can still vote. You can still vote. By the way, if you wander up in the polling place and you did vote, let's say you voted Republican, okay? And you wander in there and go, I want to vote Democrat. They should be able to tell you whether you voted. You got me? They, meaning the poll workers. Go and ask them. I can't remember, did I vote Republican last time? Now, let me just see. Yeah, you did. Okay. You don't have to, look, folks, these people are there to help you. You pay them. You pay every poll worker there to help you. You know, don't let your ignorance be a deterrent. Because if it is, then you really are ignorant for not voting. I'm just going to tell you. Don't be afraid. You can't make any stupid mistakes when it comes down to your vote. It's yours. Can't make any mistake. Can't. Your thing is to get it done. So, if you didn't vote at all, you got a chance to vote tomorrow. I would highly recommend that. You go to, particularly in this, now you got also a congressional, let's see, a runoff there, upstate, let's see, where it is, so we've got the Senate runoff, the Democratic Senate runoff, and with Howard Sherman and David Barrier. Is there not another one? I think there is upstate, isn't it?
Yes, there is the third congressional seat between Michael Guest and Whit Hughes.
Okay. That's a Republican.
Yes.
There's a Republican runoff up there for you folks. So if you did not vote Democrat up in that area, you can go and vote for one of the Republicans to determine which Republican you want to face the Democrat. Doesn't make a difference. But by all means, go. We're going to really push it. There are those who are trying to project that this is going to be a low turnout, possibly. I'm going to be optimistic, and you should be too. Just look at it this way. Who do I want representing me for the next 6 years? Where am I going to be? Where are my children going to be? Where are my grandchildren going to be? And what's going to happen if I'm gone? Even if you're on your sick bed. Now, at this point, you can't vote absentee. But you can do curbside voting. What is it, you ask? It's simple. You drive up to the curb outside of the polling place. Have someone go in and let the posters know, the people operating the polls know that you cannot get out of your car, that you are physically challenged. May have a heart problem, may have some appendage problems. Doesn't make a difference. But if you are ill and you couldn't vote absentee, just drive up. They'll go in and get the poller, the person working the polls, and they will come out to your car. You can cast your vote, bro. But I mean, you've got to certainly be able to represent that you're ill, is the point. So there's no excuse. No excuse. So there you have it, tomorrow. Just paid my debt to society, and hopefully that will encourage you. And I'm going to do it tomorrow, too, because it's very pivotal. Let me tell you why this is pivotal to me. Because I'm on the record here now, I'm going to tell you, I adamantly am against Roger Wicker or anyone else who is supporting Donald Trump. Because this is a vote on that. Whether you like it or not, that's what it is. The policies that I see right now for the country is not good for Rip Daniels. And it is proven to be so. I can tell you that. From a construction standpoint to a business standpoint, And now from a restaurant standpoint, to be quite right. It's just not good. It's not good from tourism, as I see it. Every move that's being made now at that level of play, I see it firsthand. It is creating America into a banana republic, as I see it. Right now in Zimbabwe, they got bombs going off, and they're so polarized. I just came from Zimbabwe 3 months ago in January. And it was obvious then that there were some problems, and Mugabe went out, and so now there is, and actually it was, from there to Cape Town, you have the same thing. They went to Cape Town, and the president was ousted there, vote of no confidence from the ANC, Nelson Mandela's ANC. I've seen banana republics. I've seen individuals who have the same kind of character as I see right now in the White House. Some of you don't want to admit it because somehow or another, and deep down inside, for whatever reason, maybe complexion, it may be just your arrogance or ignorance, you don't want to call what you see up there for what it's worth and what it is. It's dreadful. The behavior, the incivility, no civil discourse, the character, the mean-spirited kinds of activities that's happening for no other reason than that you can't do it, folks. And character means something to Rip Daniels, always will. You might disagree with me, but you can best better believe one thing. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a man of my word and I'm a gentleman. I'm going to be that. I'm going to be that. My daddy expects that. Bless his soul. And that's what I'm going to be at. That's the only thing I know how to be. Women and children first. And yeah, I will, in fact, defend the weak. And I will protect the innocent. At the best of my ability, doing whatever I can. And yeah, I'm a goody two-shoes. Proud of it. I can handle it. If you can't handle it, I got that. You take your weak ass somewhere else. I'm just telling you. It takes strength to do that, folks. Takes strength. So tomorrow's election day. We're going to tell you more about it. It's a runoff election. Write it down. I got a lot, I know. I'm going to get to all of it. But I have to talk about law enforcement. Let me tell you something, folks. In this great country of mine, law enforcement have an arduous task. And not only capturing wrongdoers, but these guys are having to deal with Americans who are at their last wits, actually. Yet again, I had an opportunity to see something up close and personal regarding a young African-American male who is really having mental issues. Now, I don't know what you have done. Maybe I should put it in the form of a question. I was driving. And yet again, I see this young, he had to be just early 20s, African-American male walking in the middle of the street and actually walked to the hash mark, seeing cars coming toward him. I'm caught it going toward him. Cars kind of swerving over on the side, walking like he was on a mission. Now, hard curve. I'm going to switch here, but can go back to another time when I saw the same thing on Highway 90. Rather large African-American male walking down the street same way. I swerved around him. And I gave great compliment to the law enforcement officers who stopped to help that young man. I don't want to embarrass the officer, young brother. And he talked this guy down, and I pulled on the side of the road and watched how the officers professionally, officers and the EMTs, came and talked this guy into getting out of the street and then sitting on the side. Now, what I did not know until a couple of days ago from this officer who talked him out of the street, young brother, what I did not know was that the large African-American male walking down Highway 90 had a razor to his throat. He's walking in traffic, I mean with a quickness, with a razor up to his throat. And so when the young officer saw him, it was like, hey, Rip, he had to first talk this guy from the razor from his throat. So this officer, that happened, what, maybe 3-4 months ago. Same officer over the weekend. As I saw this young guy, I jumped on the horn with 911, Gulfport PD, and said, hey, look, this guy's obviously having an episode. Now, so you see this happening. You see a guy coming. What would you do, really?
Get on with some sort of response, assistant like you did, 911, or calling the police or an EMT down. But, I mean, you kind of got to gauge if you want to or when you want to get out there and try to talk this person down yourself if they're meandering in and out of traffic.
Well, very good. Appreciate that. That's what I did. First things first, I did not call 911. It's our brother. This wasn't right. And it didn't have to be a brother. It could have been the guy, white boy, in quotes, walking down the street with a Confederate flag on his chest. This is a human being in distress. This is not right. You hear me? I feel that strong about this. I am my brother's keeper. Now, you see someone like this, and this is, I got you. If you're scared, then keep driving and call someone. That's okay. I'm not going to hold it against you. But as a man, I've got to go, whoa, we got a problem. So I slowed up. The boy's sitting right next to me. He's walking down the hash mark. I said, yo, brother, you all right? You okay? And he glared at me, and glassy-eyed, and didn't miss a step. Walked on back past me, so I had to go up and turn around, bro. Went up, and I had somewhere to go, but nothing was more important than doing this. So I went up, I turned around, came back, and by this time he had turned down a dead-end street. And I said, hey man, what's up? You okay? And he began to explain what's a dead-end street. Well, it said dead-end before he turned in there. He had a scowl on his face and glassy-eyed, and I was very concerned about that. And I said, what are you looking for? And then he indicated he was looking for something he should not have been looking for. Simultaneously, I got on the phone with 911. Now, 911 and goes to both the PD and goes to of course, the EMTs. The person answering is trying to find out what is the emergency. I said, hey, look, I've got this guy. And out of that discussion, then she'll determine whether you call the police or whether you call mobile medic. If the guy's having a mental episode, typically the first thing is going to be, let me check with, if the guy, if it seems like he's vehement or violent or whatever. So when he told me that, he said, yeah, well, blah, blah, blah. And then finally I got a rise out of him.
How?
Well, I said, yeah, man, he said he's looking for something. Actually, he said he's looking for some weed. I said, brother, you can't, that's just going to get you, that's just a ticket to the jail, man. You can't do that here. In this neighborhood, you can't be looking for no weed here. And I was on the phone, and the officer heard him saying that and so forth, and then he said this, I like your car. Well, that said to me then, bro, okay, maybe we've broken some barriers. Maybe this guy he's still there. I just need to reach this guy. So I was heading the opposite direction. He turned around going back away from me, back the way he came, and so I had to make the loop, and by the time I was making the loop, law enforcement showed up, to which I came back and I saw him on the side of the street. Now listen to me closely, ladies and gentlemen. This young 20-something-year-old man was catatonic. You know what catatonic is? It's like he was a mannequin. He was frozen. I don't know whether he obviously had to move, but I'm telling you, I watched this kid, I guess all of 7-8 minutes. And he had his eyes cocked and his hand, holding a can in his hand, and he never moved, barely breathed. There was something happening there, bro. Yeah. Something happening there. And law enforcement has to deal with that. At one talking to law enforcement, I was told that this is a regular. He was obviously taken down. Not taken down as in to the ground. I mean, he was arrested. I don't know what for as of yet. I will find that out today. Here's the point of this whole thing: is that you got to take care of people. You know, people don't stop being human because they're having a mental episode, or even for that matter, even doing something wrong. That guy that was walking down the street with a razor at his throat, I saw it with his hand up. I had no idea that's what it was. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that as an officer, or as a mobile medic, or just a human being?
Calmly, hopefully.
Well, yeah, and with caution, and you've got to have some humanity about it. You cannot automatically assume that some people deserve to die. Is my point. And the last thing I'm going to do, and my law enforcement brothers certainly appreciate this. The last thing I'm going to do, when I call you, which means Rip Daniels he sees a problem here that may be beyond him. That doesn't mean that I stop. And to the credit of these officers, even when I turned around and came back, they asked me if I would like to talk to this guy, and I tried. This guy's having a mental episode, and I don't, does he deserve to be in jail? No, but if someone can be violent, then you've got to deal with that, and you sign lunacy warrant against them, and they're held at the very least and observed for it. And I don't doubt it could have been a medication problem. I don't doubt. Broke my heart though. Yeah. But my thanks to those officers once again, dealing with a situation that could have turned terribly bad.
Yeah, definitely.
Terribly bad. First and foremost for the young man in the middle of the street, because he did not care, bro. He did not care. Let me tell you, this guy could have just as soon jumped in front of a car. Who would want that? On the other hand, he could have just as soon he could have bit one of those officers on the neck. I mean, things like that happen. I mean, don't just think it doesn't. I mean, people do things. So. All right, folks, 228-896-9455. It's money. We caught up on all the stuff that happened over the weekend. Sanders was asked out of a restaurant. We're going to get to that. Then, of course, there's this, Melania. I want to start with her. I know we're going to be going into the music. We're going to come back to it, I promise you. I'm still concerned about her and that jacket. I think that women need to reach out to her. I know that there's some of you who don't want to do it, but here's why I'm saying that. If it's one thing that will change the character of Donald John, is his wife, that woman who's there with him, not in the same bedroom, of course. And I'm not saying that to be catty or be messy. I mean, he has said that they're not in the same bedroom. I'm just saying. But I'm concerned about her. I'm concerned about whether or not she's, standing on the outside looking at this, she just seems as though he's got something on her, or he's paying her to do everything, even to say things. You have this piece. She was just on that. She just wore a jacket saying, "I don't care. I really don't care, do you?" While going to see families and children there at the border, Mexico. Then she wore the jacket, getting on the plane in D.C., then get off the plane. She didn't wear the jacket there in Texas. But when she got off that plane in D.C., she wore it again.
Back in D.C.
Back in D.C. And I'm concerned about her. So now, the only thing, she never did give an explanation as to what it was. President Donald John, he said, okay, it's a tweet. She has not confirmed or denied it was about anything except for the people who were looking at it, and that's me. There was a billboard there. It said, "I really don't care, do you?" She's asking me that. I care. She doesn't. So how do I deal with that? I think there's something else. There's some other messages. There's some other things going down, and I think that women need to reach out to her big time. Then I began to look at how she came to this country in the first place, from Slovenia. It's an interesting situation. She came here on what's called a genius visa. What is a genius visa? Well, it's designed for geniuses. Meaning Einstein. Einstein visa.
That's the nickname.
Yeah. Typically, only 10 people receive this from Slovenia. You get it when you are, well, when you're smart, when you have some kind of ability beyond what others have. Well, she got one. You see, for extraordinary ability, that's what it's for. She got a green card, but now it goes back before then, back to 1996. She was traveling. She got a visitor's visa, and then sought to stay here, and she sought to get a green card. We're going back to that's 2006. 2006 is when she got this. So between 1996 and 2006, some 10 years, she was on visas, bro. I can confirm that Mrs. Trump's parents are both. Oh, this is about the parents. Oh, the parents are in Mar-a-Lago right now. They are trying to get what Trump calls the chain migration visa. His words, chain migration visa, which is basically she's sponsoring her parents and her sister, who's living in Trump Tower now, to be citizens of this great country of mine. It's amazing. You become a citizen. She became a citizen in 2006, and approximately 10 years later, she's the first lady. Boy, I love America. Her parents are in their 70s, but all of this seems eerily strange to me and curious. And it makes me wonder, anybody, look, for a guy to pay hush money after 2006, you realize 2006 is synonymous because that's when, well, that's when his tete-a-tete with the porn queen allegedly took place. Hang on, folks, a lot going on. We're going to keep you up on it. We'll be back.
What up, y'all? It's your partner, Big Boy. Big Boy's Neighborhood. Make sure you listen this weekend. Join us, Big Boy's Neighborhood. It all goes